Okay.
Let me tilt my camera up here, and then we can go from there. All right. So how much time did they allot for you to be here, just so I can time myself?
There's no really no time. I don't have patience today.
You know what? I can't hear you very well. Say that again.
I don't have patience today, so there's really no time limit.
Okay, good, good. Well, hopefully it won't take too long. All right. So, did you get did she forward you the curriculum and the photo book page, that type of thing?
Yes, I have it.
Awesome. Okay. So, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to share my screen and just pop back and forth as I explain things and talk about things, so we can just kind of go through that. Because just for your information, I've done this probably 1,000 times at this point.
Uh-huh.
It's really a curriculum for people specifically like you, for a consultation of how to explain these hair loss and hair loss treatments to people. For your information, just so you know, before I started here, I worked at Bosley for a long time. I was one of their top counselors and sold more hair transplants and preservation solutions than anyone. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing this for years and years. And, you know, uh, when I approach these things, it's not necessarily to, for lack of a better way, trick people in or get them to buy. It's really just to educate them so that they can make an informed choice, because I find when they're educated, they are very willing to take that step forward. They
Uh-huh.
just really don't have the answer. So that's a lot of what we're going to talk about. So um, let me go ahead and do my screen share. Hold on right there. There we
Just
go. All right. So can you see my screen now?
yes.
All right, good. I'm going to put you onto the side. I know it's weird looking at yourself, but then I can just see what's going on here. Okay, so this is the training that we're going to go through, and I'll point out right now, because I talked about it right now, right here where I say the key is to educate and don't sell. Now, again, when I train consultants, everyone from Bosley to Hair Club to the top Park Avenue guys to obviously some of the top Beverly Hills people. And it's really the same, no matter who your clientele is, no matter what their socioeconomic class, no matter what their zip code is. It's just amazing how much people don't understand hair loss and that there actually are medical solutions there. And
Mm-hmm.
I always explain it like this, and I say this in the beginning just so people can either hate me or just think this guy's really annoying. But I travel a lot, so I'm on the phone a lot with airlines. Yesterday I was on the train all day. And you know, what's the first thing we do when we're waiting on hold for someone to help us with our situation? We're saying, please don't let me get a stupid person. Please don't let me get a stupid person. I'm to
Yeah.
the point right now when I get a stupid person, I'll just make an excuse like, hey, the stove's on fire. And then I call back and just someone knows what they're talking about, because that's really
Mm-hmm.
what people want to know. Now, in terms of hair loss, here are just some statistics. And I really don't do this for the fun of it, but a lot of people don't understand what a big deal this is to people. These are statistics from the ISHRS, or the International Society of Hair Restoration Surgery.
Mm-hmm.
60% of all hair loss sufferers would rather have more hair than more money or more friends. 60%. And that includes the wealthiest people out there, because it's such a big deal to them. And
Uh-huh.
almost half of them would spend their life savings to regain a full head of hair. One of the reasons that I say that at the very beginning, I know you guys are in Beverly Hills. And again, yesterday, 2 days ago, I was with the top plastic surgeon in Manhattan, right there on Park Avenue. And it really doesn't matter whether or not people have a lot of money or they don't. What they really want to know is there something I could do, and can I believe it? Because so many people have tried so many gimmicks. Their Facebook feeds, their Instagram, everything is full of all these people giving information and don't know what they're talking about. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the first things you want to establish right at the top is, of course, setting yourself up as the expert, which is exactly what we're going to do in the next 30 minutes. It's my goal to teach you absolutely everything that there is to know about hair loss and how to answer their questions and help them with it. So I'm going to do two terms right at the top, just so we understand what we're talking about. In the hair loss industry, there is restoration and preservation. Restoration is hair restoration or hair transplants. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you guys do not do hair transplants, correct?
No.
Okay, so that's the restoration side. Then there's the preservation side, which is keeping the hair you have and actually helping to regrow more hair. So everything we're talking about in this little training time is about the restor or the preservation side, keeping the hair you have, and regrowing hair. All right, so now
Okay.
we're going to go into that curriculum where it says, take, you'll see right there where it says, take out the need to shop and fill their plate, explaining, here we go, non-surgical options, approved or cleared by the FDA, in your case, +2. Okay, here's why I'm talking about this. People think there's nothing they can do. Some people think there's 100 things they can do. They just haven't heard about the right one. So one of the things that's important to say right at the top is, if it's a woman, Mary, there are only 4 things that the medical community recognizes that you can do to help stop hair loss and help cause hair regrowth. John, if it's a guy, he has 5 options. So let me run you through all of them so they make sense and you can explain them. So right here, let's start with this one, which is minoxidil. Minoxidil is what a lot of people call Rogaine. You can get it at Walgreens, you can get it at Costco, you can get it at anywhere. It's what's known as a vasodilator, meaning it dilates the blood vessels. It was originally a high blood pressure medication. They found that it had the pleasant side effects of helping to stop hair loss and helping to cause hair regrowth, because what it's doing is it's taking a dying follicle, pumping more blood into it, making it healthy again so that it can regrow. That's one of them. That's for men or women. It's FDA approved. The next one, finasteride. Finasteride is only for men. Finasteride was originally and still is a pill, a prescription for an older guy with an enlarged prostate. They found it had the side effect of helping to grow hair, so they repackaged it, rebranded it, reduced the dosage, and called it originally Propecia. Now it's available in its generic form known as finasteride. That's 2 of them. Again, that's only for men. The next one is low-level laser therapy or photobiomodulation. That's what I'm wearing right now. That's what this cap is. That's smushed all my hair. I'll talk more about this, but this is the OXO cap that Dr. Lou wants to carry. I'll show it to you real close up coming up in a little bit here when we go through it. But when we're talking about photobiomodulation, letter C here, that's what this is. I'll explain exactly how it works coming up like I did with the other one. The next one is PRP. You guys do PRP, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so PRP, I don't need to tell you about that. Platelet-rich plasma, you probably explained it a million times. The last one is exosomes. Now, it's my understanding, if I'm correct, talking to Dr. Lou, that's something you're going to do but don't do yet. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so has he explained it to you at all?
I could hear it a couple more times.
Yeah. Okay, so because frankly, it's the newest one, and I'll be happy to send this to you, but I've had to go online because it keeps changing. Now, here's the important about what I'm going to say here, and this is the document that I'll talk about. What's highlighted here in the yellow. When I was talking to Dr. Lou, he was talking about growing mushrooms in Alaska and yada yada yada, and all this stuff that he has going on, this proprietary stuff. So I'm going to explain generally what it is, just in 30 seconds. But you guys really will have to hear from him very specifically what his proprietary brand is doing. But the general thing is, and I'm going to actually take time to do this right now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'll come back to exosomes, but it's not going to make sense unless I explain what hair loss is. So can you see my little pad here? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So here's why people are losing their hair. First of all, let's talk about terms. And one of them is alopecia. Most people think alopecia is a condition. In other words, I have alopecia. That's not the case. All alopecia is a medical term for hair loss. There are different types of alopecia. For example, there's androgenic alopecia, often referred to as ANG, which is exactly what it sounds like. Androhuman, genetic, you inherit it, alopecia, hair loss. So just inherited hair loss. That's like 98% of the people you're going to see, that's what they're suffering from. There's another kind of alopecia called traction alopecia. Traction alopecia is from pulling on your hair too tight, from whether you're an African American woman with tight braids or you're one of these women who did ponytails forever and you're starting to recede. Basically, when you yank on your follicle too much, it eventually dies and stops growing. Okay, so that's traction alopecia. I'm trying to fix my camera there. Then there's alopecia universalis, where you're losing hair all over. There's alopecia areata, which is more of a medical condition where there's a little blotch here and there that you're moving or losing. Most of the people by far have androgenic alopecia, and they all work the same way. Now, what I'm going to draw for, oh, Jesus, oh, the camera just dropped. What I'm going to draw for you, I know, this is a great thing to take out a pen and paper when you're sitting with the client and do this kind of doodle for them, because it's what's going to make them say, oh, I got a smart person. So here's a hair follicle, kind of looks like an onion. Here's a healthy hair. It's nice and big and thick. What happens when we're losing our hair, or we're going bald, for a lack of a better term, is something called miniaturization. Miniaturization. Now, if anyone comes into your office and they've Googled even for 30 seconds, they've seen this term. So it's important that we know what it is when we're talking about. And basically means this, the follicle is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And as the follicle is getting smaller, the hair is getting smaller and weaker. The hair is getting smaller and weaker, and this hair is getting smaller and weaker. This is what's called miniaturization. All right. What these 5 things that the medical community recognizes, in other words, doctors tell their patients to do this, is actually called reverse miniaturization. And that's where, through whatever form I just talked about, we take this unhealthy follicle and we make it healthy again, so that instead of dying, because eventually if this were the scalp, it would eventually be dead and gone. That's permanent baldness.
Okay.
Well, we want to take these unhealthy follicles, do whatever we can to make them healthy again. So now we have a healthy follicle and a healthy hair.
Okay. Once they get small, there's no reversing them.
So yeah, so whether it's whatever type of alopecia, let's just talk about androgenic alopecia and hair loss, like hair from your mom, your dad, from wherever. Your follicle is just programmed at a certain age to start to die. So what's happening is these follicles are dying, but they don't just die all at once and fall out. They just get smaller and smaller and weaker and weaker and weaker until they're gone. That's what miniaturization is.
Okay.
But, and this is why it's important to educate. And this is where you say, but Mary, I know that sucks. I know that's bad news. But the good news is, Mary, really only in the last 20 years, the medical community now has stuff that they can do to stop that follicle from dying and bring it back to healthy life. But here's what's really important. Once it's dead and gone, this X here, permanent baldness, it's gone forever. That's where hair transplants come in. Once the follicle is dead, there's nothing we can do. It's not there anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Like, once it's gone, there's no way to bring it back, right?
No. So with hair, and that's where we get into restoration. So with restoration, just so you understand it, because in case you got someone who already visited a hair transplant surgeon, so it's hard to tell because this light's shining through me, but everything, I should be one of those guys with a horseshoe. I should be totally bald. Everything I have is either laser or a hair transplant. What happens with hair transplants is this area is programmed to grow forever. So they take the hair out one hair at a time and move it up here one hair at a time. But while they're doing that, that's what a hair transplant is. And when I say hair, I'm using the wrong term. I would have to correct myself. We're always talking about the follicle. They actually cut out this follicle microscopically that's healthy and move it to an area of my head that doesn't have it anymore, and they transplant it into there. That's what a hair transplant is, moving hair follicles one at a time to where you need them. The thing with preservation, the thing we're talking about today with the oxocap, exosomes, and everything, is what we're saying to your patient as you're sitting there talking to them. Mary, I know your hair's thinning. I see that. I know you told me it's thinning. It's because your follicles are getting smaller like this, but we can catch them before they're dead and gone and bring them back to full life so your hair can go back to the way it was. Is that making sense?
Yes.
Okay. And we can go back and talk about that as much as you want. But the bottom line is, here's this healthy follicle and here's this hair. Nothing that we're talking about today has to do with the hair. Everything has to do with the follicle, the factory that's making the hair. It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller until it's dead and gone. If we can catch it right here before it's dead and gone, we can reverse miniaturize it and make it healthy again, so the hair is healthy again. So if you have a woman who's freaked out because she's receding here, you know, or she's just getting thin in general, whether it's any of those 5 medical solutions we talked about, what we're doing is, as long as there's a fine baby, tiny, fine hair there, we can catch it and bring it back to life.
Okay.
One of the things Dr. Lou is going to do, if he hasn't done it already, let me see if I have one here. I do. He's buying you guys this. This is a scope. Okay. I'll take it out. It plugs right into your computer. It works exactly like my webcam's working here. You plug it in like a webcam. I'm sure you'll eventually have this sitting on your desk. It looks like this. It's actually a pretty nice looking thing. And it just plugs in by USB cord to your computer. And you can take this off and put it on your patient's head and show them this. You can show them these baby fine hairs. They'll be right next to you. You'll see on the scope a big, fat, thick, healthy hair. And right next to it, you'll see a tiny, fine little wispy hair.
Okay.
And that's how you'll be able to prove, for lack of a better way of saying it, look, Mary, you see that because we see that tiny hair, we know there's a follicle there. There wouldn't be a tiny hair if there was no follicle. We can treat that dying follicle and bring it back to life. So this tiny hair turns into this big hair again.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. So again, you'll be getting this, and probably what will happen once you guys get this and you get the cap in there, I'll just fly down there again and come in and sit with you guys personally and actually sculpt you and show you how all that works. So it'll make more sense.
Okay.
All right, let me go back to screen sharing and let's go back to the curriculum so I can finish talking about. All right. So I'll move you over here. Oh, okay. So exosomes. Okay. So again, Dr. Lou will have to explain to you exactly how his work, because his are proprietary. But I just highlighted something that I got off the internet. It makes it just in layman terms right here. Exosomes are vessels or biological things, is what I would say, that are involved in cell communication. Cells react to the messaging signal from the exosomes and will change their behavior. So let's go back to, well, I guess you can't. Oh, can you see me in that little corner down there on what screen share?
I can see.
Yeah, just tiny little thing. So again, why are these follicles dying? Because the cells are dying. The cells are getting weaker and weaker. As they're getting weaker and weaker and weaker and dying, all of those 5 things we're talking about are going to make those cells healthy and strong again in very different ways. Rogaine or minoxidil throws more blood into them to give them more nutrients to reverse miniaturize. Finasteride is a DHT blocker, which is a little hard to explain, but most doctors don't want to prescribe it because it can have side effects, but basically it does the same thing. Low-level laser therapy, or the OXO, we'll talk about in detail about how that does. Now, to connect the dots, what the exosomes are doing right here is they're talking to the cells, cell communication, to react to the messaging signal from the exosomes, which will change their behavior. In other words, to help regenerate and regrow hair. How's it changing the behavior? The exosomes are saying to those cells that are dying in that follicle, you don't have to die anymore. Let me help you rethink this so that you regrow, so the follicle regrows and the hair regrows. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, and I know it's a lot right now, but at the end, it's going to all come together because basically, here's what I'm doing. I'm talking about these 5 things again. Remember, Mary has 4, John has 5. Only John has finasteride. So to go back to what we're talking about, Mary, I know you may think there's nothing you can do. You may think there's 100 things you can do. You just haven't found the right one. But Mary, there are only 4 that doctors recognize, whether you go to your dermatologist or talk to Dr. Lou or go to a hair transplant surgeon down the street. They're all going to only recognize 3 things: minoxidil, photobiomodulation, PRP, and exosomes. They're all going to do the same things. They're going to take a dying follicle and bring it back to life. But here's the key. They're all going to do them differently, and they're all going to do them with different efficacies. So the big question is that Mary will have, and I'm sure you do, well, which one is most effective? What works the best? I want to do the one that works the best. That's what we'll talk about. All right. So that's background of everything to make sense of. Now we're going into the consultation. I typically do that right up front so that people understand that that there is something they can do. And again, if they've been online and Googled it all, they may say to you, trust me, I've sat with them. And I, by the way, of course, I worked at Bosley and Beverly Hills, especially in Beverly Hills, when they're just trying to see how stupid or smart you are, because you know how they love to do that. They'll say something to you like, well, how does minoxidil work? What's minoxidil? And hopefully you'll be able to say, well, you have this, so you can go keep it. It's a vasodilator. It's a high blood pressure medication that opens the blood vessels. Well, how does photobiomodulation, how does that low-level laser therapy work? You'll be able to talk about it in a second. I haven't gone there yet. How does PRP work? You already know that. Well, what does exosomes therapy do? We just talked about that. So it's super, super, super important if you want to make the sale. Now I'm talking about making the sale, that you have a full understanding of all 5 of these, because they will quiz you. And if they don't quiz you, then they'll go home and Google it. You know what I mean? So that's why I say if they feel like they got a smart person, at the end of the consultation, you can say, Mary, here's what I want you to do. Looking at your hair, now that we've talked about everything, I would like to see you start some exosome treatments while at the same time at home doing photobiomodulation treatments. Let's double up the treatments to get you the best results. I think that'll work best for you, because the exosomes are going to communicate with the cells that they want to regrow. The oxocap, or the photobiomodulation, while those cells want to regrow, are going to give it that very specific kind of FDA cleared light that's going to demand more blood flow and give it the nutrients to help it grow. And I think that would be the best course of action for you. And I think you're going to see results in 4 to 5 months. Your hair is going to be coming in thicker. So, because when you start talking like that, they're all in, because, whoa, she knows what she's talking about. That's what okay. All right. So what happens on the consultation, I'm going to do this in like 3 minutes here until we get to the next page. We just talked about this. Okay, so and then you may say, now, so let's talk about what I'm going to recommend for you. Let's talk about photobiomodulation, or this oxocap that you'll probably have sitting in your office already as a demo. This is an FDA cleared, their most recent FDA cleared next generation of photobiomodulation. You know, Mary, if you go online and you Google low-level laser therapy or photobiomodulation, you're going to see a lot of stuff out there. But this is the latest, most next generation photobiomodulation that is available. It is the #1 top device that the FDA has most recently cleared. We'll explain that. So next thing you're going to want to do is scope her. I just talked about that. I showed you that scope. Let her see her miniaturization, or John, whoever it is. If they see the miniaturization, they're going to say, oh, whoa, you're right. Now I see why I'm losing my hair. Next, we're going to explain and educate what the OXO is, okay? Now, keep in mind, the whole time we're thinking, probably, if I hear Dr. Lou correctly, that what you want to do eventually is have Mary sign up for, take, buy, whatever term you want to do, photobiomodulation coupled with his proprietary exomes treatment. So what we're doing now is just educating them on how those work and how those will use. So the first thing that I'm going to say, Mary, let me just tell you something, and this is only for the OXO. We can't say this is about exomes because it's not. So that's why we want to hit this really clear, and kind of in her mind, hopefully she'll be joining them together, and they will. Let me explain to you what it means to get an FDA clearance, John. I'm just going to switch back and forth between Mary and John, because that's really important. Ironically, now I'm talking to you personally. Before COVID, I would have to spend a lot of time explaining what an FDA clearance meant. Now I can run through it really quickly, because we all saw those press conferences and what it took to get a shot. In order to get an FDA clearance, you have to prove to the FDA, #1, efficacy or effectiveness, and #2, safety. So think about that, Mary, or think about that, John. Because this is FDA cleared, the FDA says this is effective, meaning it will do what we say it will do, and the FDA says it will do that safely. John, I can't tell you what a big deal it is that this is FDA cleared, because that's what it means. Because at the end of the day, you don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to take Dr. Lou's word for it. You don't even have to take the company's word for it. Because it is FDA cleared, we know it's going to work, and we know it's going to work safely. So by this time, just so you know, you have them. You know, they're like, wow, I really want to know how that works. Okay. Now at this point, what you'll do, you can still see my screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know that's so annoying when people ask that. Of course I can see your screen. That's why I'm asking questions. Okay, so here's the photo book page. You have this?
Yes.
Okay. Now this is something that you want to print out or just take down to the Walgreens or whatever, get an 8x10 made and either laminate it or put it in a frame. If you want, I can send them, but it's just a lot easier for you guys to do it because you can do it however you want. So you probably use photo books of before and afters for breast augmentation, liposuction, that kind of thing. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is just another page in your photo book. And what this does is this is going to actually walk you through the actual consultation for hair loss. Okay. So right here, I just talked about all this, right? So that you see how I started with that right off the bat. Mary, there are only 4 things for you. John, there are only 5 things for you. And then you're just going to run through each of them individually and explain them. They will probably stop and ask questions along the way. A lot of times they don't. They're just listening to you and saying, ooh, whoa, I got someone who's really smart. And they're really listening, because that's why I do those statistics at the beginning, not because they're statistics for the fun of it, but this is super huge to them. And I always do start here, you know, even before I said this to you, but just so you know, this is for your consultation. I say, look, Mary, I get it. You go on Facebook, you go on Instagram, you see people talking about cracking eggs on your head, standing on your head. All this stuff's going to help your hair loss. Let me make this perfectly clear, John. There are only 5 things the medical community recognizes that really will do something. But the good news is there are 5 things. So let me explain them to you so we can find out what's best for you. See how that goes? And it really goes naturally into that. Okay, then we're down here. The medical community recognizes stop hair loss. According to reviewed clinical studies and meta-analyses, and I don't mean this for to be a annoying or insulting question, but do you know what a meta-analysis is?
No.
Okay, so you know what a clinical study is, where they do clinical studies to see something works. A meta-analysis is a clinical study on steroids. What they do is they take a whole bunch of clinical studies, because there's been clinical studies on all this stuff ad nauseum, maybe not exosomes as much because there's new. And they throw them all into the computer, all the clinical studies at once, and they say, okay, computer, show me which one is the best. That's what a meta-analysis is, a bunch of clinical studies summed up.
Okay.
According to this meta-analysis, here it is in quotes, ranking of treatments of efficacy rank probabilities in code, the probability for each treatment to the best, second best, third best, etc. The probability that LLLT, or low-level laser therapy, will be the most effective treatment option, ranked number 1 for our data of 92%. Now, so they're talking about this. Now, one of the things that I send you, I'm just going to show it to you right now because I'll email it to you and you're going to see all my files here. Patricia articles, and here it is. This is that meta-analysis I just talked about.
Oh, yes, I have that.
Yeah. So what happened? Did I send that?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. So
Yeah.
you know the best thing you can do is just go through it and read it.
Okay.
And highlight. And when I say read it, only read it for the sake of printing it out and highlighting a sentence or two. Because again, let's see. Here's the summary. Where we'll talk about like what's the most effective. Because again, when you show this to one of your clients, and when I say show it, I'm talking about flash it, which I know sounds really cheeseball. You just flash it, and with your highlights, and you can even say, look at the sentence again, because they so much want to find something that really works. You know what I'm saying? So it's just part of your toolbox for selling it. And now down here for you guys, I put additionally, exosomes have been clinically shown to help regenerate and regrow hair as a treatment for hair loss in both men and women. Well, guess where I got that? I got that right from that article that I just showed you, which I will see, here it is. It's right here. So when you have those kinds of things in your toolbox during your consultation, the bottom line is at the end of the day, they're not taking your word for it. They're not getting a slick talking salesman, patient coordinator. They're like, wow, like you are clinically, medically, FDA-ingly showing them that this is real. And that's why almost everyone I ever sit with buys them, because you know what I mean? Because it's so real.
It's yeah.
Yeah,
It's not
you're not just taking your word for it, like, oh, you'll look better. Like you're showing them medically. Okay. There's also a white paper. OXO was the first device cleared by the FDA for the laser regrowth, utilized surface mount laser technology. Same stuff, just quotes that you can use. Here is the bottom line, though. When we say it's next evolution, it's true. OXO delivers the highest dosage of treatment on the market, meaning simply better results. In other words, what that means is, and I say this kind of thing, look, John, this is how I really talk in real life. You can pretend you have to go pee and go in the bathroom. I know you're going to whip out your phone and Google laser caps, and you're going to see tons of them. And you're going to see some that are like 1/10 of the price that come from China that will, by the way, break in a month. But let me make this perfectly clear. This OXO, and now I'm here, delivers the highest dosage of treatment on the market, which is true, just so you know. No one else has a higher dosage. Only doctors can sell this. That's why we have it. You can't go online and buy this. So you can go buy something cheap for China for $500, but I guarantee you, you're going to be back here in a month because it broke, because it was cheap, and you're going to say, okay, give me the real one. This is the real one that doctors use. All right. So that is basically what this whole consultation page is about. You will, your office will get a certified certificate. You yourself, now that you've done this, at the end of this, and when everyone else is done, we're going to send each of you a certificate as well. If you want to frame it and hang it on your wall that says so-and-so has been certified in the education and use of FDA cleared photobiomodulation to help stop hair loss and help cause hair regrowth. That help word is an FDA word. That's why we put it there.
Yeah.
But you'll actually have it that you're certified in the education of it as soon as we're done here in a few minutes. So that's how that works. Okay. Let me go back to the curriculum. So we can, any other questions while we're here?
No, everything's pretty clear.
Okay, good. Now let me just talk about this and we'll pretty much be done. Let me explain to you how this works, okay? And it's right here. And again, there's no problem with having this out when you're explaining to a patient, because we've talked about minoxidil, we talked about finasteride, you know how PRP works, we talked about exosomes, and we're saving this till last. How does, John is saying, okay, I get it, I see it, the FDA says it works, but just tell me how it works so I understand. So what happens is lasers reach down to healthy and unhealthy follicles. So what we're saying there, as you can see this again, we talked about that. These unhealthy follicles need to be tapped into so that they can reverse miniaturize. All right. Point B, same lasers used in hospitals for wound healing and burn healing. I'm going to show you these. You guys, I showed Dr. Lou how to get that scope on eBay. You can get these on eBay for $5 because this is super cool and patients love this. It's a very specific, look at C, a specific spectrum of laser that skin and hair, including hair systems, if a woman happens to wear wigs or hair systems, allow to pass through. So I have 3 different lasers here, but I'll use 2 just to save time. So you can see this is like a blue or a purple one. Oh, actually, let me stop sharing because I'll come back. All right, am I full screen now?
Yes.
Okay. See how that's like blue or purple or whatever? See, this is red. That's called 650 nanometers if you want to take notes. It's actually, nanometers are the color in a rainbow. So there's like blue, yellow. 650 nanometers is this specific color red. Why is that important? This will freak you out because it's such cool biology. I can't even tell you. I get so excited about it. Okay, see this blue or purple, whatever. I'm holding it up to my fingertip. You see it's right there. And I'm going to turn my fingertip around. And can you see anything? No. Now watch this. This is the color of these lasers, which you saw on my head, which I'll turn it on again. So here's 650 nanometers of red.
Uh-huh.
Watch, I'm going to hold it up to my finger. Look at that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Is that crazy? Our skin allows this color, only this color, to pass through it.
Okay.
No other color can get through it in the whole color spectrum of rainbows. 650 nanometers gets through. So it totally, and I say that to people so they don't think it's, so they know this isn't a gimmick, or I'll show that to them. In other words, these lasers, which are that exact same color, these SMT lasers, these next generation lasers, as you can see, they are exactly that color red.
Uh-huh. Take us through.
So these, my scalp is actually allowing that because it's healthy light. It's excited about it. That's why it's letting it pass through. It's actually allowing it to go through my scalp down to the dying follicle. What happens is, in the follicle cell, that's why this connects to exosomes. The energy levels of the cell, to take you back to junior high, is oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I just forgot the word. What the energy levels are? Mitochondria. Oh my God, I've only said it 8 billion times. So what happens are, when the cells are dying, the mitochondria just get lazy and stop working. This color light is going to take those mitochondria, the energy levels, it's light, like photosynthesis in a plant, if you see E there, that makes a plant grow, and they're going to start coming back to life and getting excited, and they're going to make that cell reverse miniaturize. So now all of a sudden the hair's growing again because the follicle is getting healthy again. Got it?
Yeah.
It's that cool. The medical science. So all of these tools are available to you for that kind of medical science. Now, the last thing I'll tell you about, really down to the last 3 minutes here, is let me just show you these lasers. And oh, you got a cap there. Have you seen it? Dr. Lou has one. You can ask to see it.
He took it.
Yeah, I know. I because he's all excited about it too. These the old lasers look more like tubes. Okay. They're like little tubes. They almost look like mini versions of this.
Oh, okay.
These next generation lasers are these little square things that aren't soldered. So it's super flexible and super comfortable. I could literally sit on this and it won't break.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
And I wear it 10 minutes once a day. And everything I just talked about happens. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's all you do. And whenever you're ready, like after every 3 or 4 treatments or whatever, it's a battery pack. You're totally cordless. All you do is you get a charger with it, you charge it, and you're good for another 3 or 4 days till you have to do it again. At 10 minutes, like you saw, because I had it on when we started, it automatically turns itself off.
Oh, okay.
And you just put it in the drawer until you do it 10 minutes later. Now, I'm going to name drop a little bit. I'll name drop one because I'm not supposed to, but it's okay because some of them say we can. So the biggest, when I say the biggest, I mean the biggest. The people in Hollywood, Beverly Hills with the best hair all do this.
Oh, really?
For example, you look like the K's. They all do this. I happen to know that because one of their doctors is one of my clients, and and those K's that you look like, they do this. That's why their hair looks so good, because as we go through life, there's no such thing as Rapunzel. Eventually, all of our follicles will die, but they'll replace themselves because they're healthy in the first place. This actually shortens the lifespan of the replacing the follicles. So you just it's an insanely good beauty treatment because you will just always have the thickest, most healthiest hair you can have, even for someone who doesn't have hair loss. That happens to them. So, real quickly, just so you know what this all is, this is these are all the knockoff things I talked about on eBay, and you can tell people, just so they know, John, I'm telling you right now, and I say this, you can go onto eBay right now and probably find a 272 laser cure cap for $500. It's crap from China, and it really is. And Dr. Lou knows that better than anybody. He wants to sell to China because the Chinese people won't buy anything from China. I don't know if you know that, because they know what they're making. That's true. This is all USA. We're in the USA. It's engineered in the USA. We fulfill in the USA. This is not a China shipped from China product at all. You guys are going to get it right
What's
from
the
us.
price of that?
$2,999, so $3,000.
$3,000. Okay.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Here's real important to notice. All these other things you have to pay for over and over again. This is the only one you buy once. You know. So here's the end of the day recommendation that I would say when you're sitting with your patient. Okay, so Mary, let's get real. I've just explained everything. You saw your miniaturization. I told you your 4 options, Mary. Here's what I would like to see you do. And I don't know if you do this, but I've just learned as a patient coordinator throughout my life that at the end of the day, they really want me. They want to, without them asking, they just tell me what you think I should do.
Yeah.
And this is what I would say. Until you get exosomes, you say, I think you should do this because the clinical studies are off the charts. It's the most effective. Once you get Dr. Lou's exosomes, I would say what I would like to see you do to really supercharge your hair growth and address it right now. I would like to start some exosome treatments that are going to add this biological communicator to your cells, because remember, Mary, we looked under the scope and we saw that your cells are dying. We saw that for ourselves. So I would like you to start that exosome treatment so we can start talking to the cells to tell them they don't have to die. And simultaneously, I would like you to start daily 10-minute photobiomodulation treatments at home. No one has to see it. So while those cells start getting information that they don't have to die, we're now getting them that healthy light, just like photosynthesis in a plant, that's going to reach down to your follicles, get them excited, demanding more blood flow, demanding the mitochondria become life. And we're going to see your small, tiny hairs attached to small, tiny follicles. While those follicles reverse and get bigger, that hair will reverse and get bigger, and you're going to see amazing results.
Okay.
And then you sit and they say, of course I want to do that. You know? So, but that's it. That's how it works. What do you think?
Good. A lot of information. I really liked it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know there's a lot. Now, just so I think I recorded this. If I did, I'll send it to you guys.
Okay.
Just because this is a training kind of specific to your office. And then if and when you get product in, and maybe he even gets this, I'll just come back and show you how to use it all.
Okay. Yeah.
Show you how to do the consultation with this and that photo book page, and then just bump right down to John. This is what I would like to see you do. Let's start you on the exosomes and photobiomodulation at the same time. Let's make sure no more follicles die. Let's get those follicles that are still exist before they do die and thicken up your hair. And keep in mind, they'll have seen that meta-analysis, the clinical studies, the white paper, and you explain what FDA clearance is, and they'll have been all in.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so if you have any more questions, email me.
Yes.
And if this is saved, I'll send you a link. But you can I don't know who was I talking to that had to bail out at the last minute. Whoever it was. Who was it? Oh yeah. You can let her know. She can either watch the video or we can reschedule something. And if you want to pop in to go over it again, but we'll make sure you guys are educated as much as you want or need to be.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Have a good day. Okay. Bye.